Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Success Mindshift. So, ultimately, well, let me start off with an introduction because I haven't done any live streams in a very long time, but I'm back. So, my name is Eric Horn, and I own a career development firm specifically geared towards helping college graduates transition from graduation into the real world. And since this is the beginning of April, graduation season is right around the corner. So, uh, more than likely, you have a lot of seniors that are fighting senioritis, or they're just really revving up for one last time to focus on their finals, just knowing that these are the last set of finals, unless they go to graduate school. The last set of finals that they have to go through in order for them to get their degree. And getting a degree, regardless if you've been in school for 4 years, 5 years, in some instances, a little bit longer than that, there's no judgment as long as you finish. There's a huge shift that most recent college graduates miss, right? A lot of college graduates, and this happened with me also, because I tell you a lot of stories based off of this Success Mindshift webinar, live stream, or whatever you want to call it. I made a lot of mistakes because once I graduated, I initially thought that I was going to get a high paying job in the degree that I was in. And the degree I was in was in IT. And IT, like now, was very in high demand, but I had a reality check when it came to when I received my first job, and also that year and a half transition that I had to endure to understand, okay, Eric, you're not in college anymore. You are in the real world, and how people think in the real world is totally different from how people think in the academic world, right? So the gist of this webinar is just to give anyone that is a recent or soon to be recent college graduate, kind of give you some mindset shifts that you can take. And I know mind shift, most people use that and throw that word around, and they're still general. What I'm going to do is give you specific things that you can actually do that worked for me, to navigate and better transition from a college graduate to a thriving professional. Because most people think once you graduate, you made it. Actually, your graduation and your diploma is the entry ticket to start your career, right? It's not the ending, it's the overall beginning. But before we get into all of that, let me give you a basic overview and understanding on why this framework is important, especially for, once again, recent college graduates, and some of the strategies and the tools that I'll give most people who are even in their career can use if they want to, you know, shift what they're doing right now and kind of take the next step in their career, right? But however, when most college graduates initially, and I believe this also, once they get their degree, success will instantly happen, and that's so not the case. Most graduates think that they are at the top of the food chain. They're at the top of the food chain at their university because they're graduating, but they instantly go to the bottom of the totem pole once they're out in the real world. You go from the seasoned professional at school to the overall rookie. So it's not just about instant success to happen. In actuality, the truth is, once again, your diploma is just giving you the privilege to be on the starting line of your career, right? Most people, which is a big mistake, because I made this mistake also. Once I graduated, I thought I made it, as opposed to saying, no, Eric, you're going to have to start from the bottom and work your way up the same way I had to start from the bottom and work my way up when I was in college, and start from the bottom as a freshman and work my way up when I was in high school. The work never ends, right? Actually, even when you graduate, you should never lose the drive of continuous learning, even when you graduate. Most people think they don't have to learn anymore, but once again, as you get into the real world, you understand that you will have a leg up as you still learning and still developing yourself, even though you have graduated, right? So the story behind why this is so much important to me. So I remember once I graduated, and here's another caveat that I should have been more well prepared for. Even though I received my degree in information technology, it took me a year and a half from graduating to finding my first job. And some of the things that I failed to do to prepare myself for the real world, for example, as a nugget, I wasn't even going to talk about this, is how you can strategically build your network, right? And just as a caveat, most college graduates give the excuse of, I don't know who to network with. I don't know anybody. Start with your alumni association, right? People before you have graduated from that university, and some of them are highly successful. And one keen way that you can start to build up your network is go to your alumni association and start to get associated not only with the people that work there, but also find out who has graduated before you in the field that you want to get into and start to build those relationships, okay? But for me, when I graduated, I was excited and ready to impress with all the theory and everything that I've learned in college, right? However, after maybe 3 months after I graduated, I started to feel lost, right? Because some of the things that I received in college, and that's some of the things I'll talk about in this webinar, I stopped receiving because I stopped going to that educational institution, right? So for 4 years, I was in the process of conditioning my mind on how things work in the academia, I think they call it, in the academic space. But I hit a brick wall once I graduated because since I didn't go back to school anymore, I didn't have that conditioning and I really didn't know what to go. I really didn't have a sense of direction, right? So one of the key things that one of my mentors told me, and I will never forget this, because I was bragging about school and I was not bragging, I'm sorry. Let's keep it transparent. I was complaining and about I got these good grades in school. I was very knowledgeable about what I do, but why can't I find an opportunity, right? So after my mentor looked at me, and I know he was tired of me just complaining, right? He looked at me, listened to what I said, took a deep breath, and said the following. He said, Eric, you're not in school anymore. No one is grading you. You have to create your own scoreboard. And that resonated with me because once again, I was entitled to thinking that I've gotten good grades, so I should get into the rooms, I should get the jobs, and people should be impressed based off of what I accomplished. But in actuality, nobody cared, right? And once again, nobody at this point is grading and monitoring me based off of what I'm doing. So I need to start not only creating my own scoreboard, but putting points on the scoreboard, which is probably one of the most profound things that I had to learn as I reconditioned myself when it comes to the success mindset. And on a side note, you have to understand what success means to you, not what people have graduated, not what you see on social media, because I promise you, there are some soon to be graduates, and it may be you that I'm talking to. You feel that out the gate after you graduate, you should get over $100,000, $200,000 in your job because this is what you saw on social media, or this is what your overall expectations are. You believe that, you are going to be in a world of hurt, right? Not saying that you can ascend to that salary after a couple of years or do some outside stuff to accumulate what you have in your salary in addition to the other stuff that you're doing, but it is very rare, very slim for someone fresh out of college to get a job over $100,000, $200,000. And if somebody is on here saying that they are, they're lying. The data doesn't prove that most people fresh out of college get those type of jobs, right? So you definitely want to be aware of that. However, one of the 3 things that I'm going to teach you tonight when it comes to a successful mind shift, I'm going to give you all 3, and then I'm going to break them down. So you have a 50,000 overview of what I'm going to talk about. So the three pillars when it comes to a successful mind shift is one, you need to move from student to performer. You want to let go of the I'm just going to learn enough to get this grade to actually embracing how you can create value for an organization. It's two different type of mindsets, because even in school you have people that are just naturally smart, right? They open up the book, read it once, they retain the information and regurgitate that back in a paper or in an open discussion or even on a test. You have some people that navigate through school like that. They are naturally gifted. However, when it's time to embrace that creation of value, that's where they get lost in the sauce, because once again, they did what they needed to do just to get by, just to pass that class, as opposed to what can you do and how you can perform on a continuous basis, day in and day out, year in and year out, to create a huge create a huge level of value that you bring not only to the organization that you're at, but even more importantly, that value that you can take with you to other opportunities. Once again, as a college graduate, I want you to work hard and ascend to the position that you want. But if you know you just doing what you need to do just to get by will get you fired at a job. Most people are looking for people to go beyond the call of duty. Going beyond the call of duty is the norm in most organizations. And if you can't hit that based off of your mentality, you're going to have a very hard transition. Number two, move from being passive to being proactive. So once you are in school, you wait for instruction for your teacher. You need to write this paper. You're going to have a test on this particular day. Please read pages 1 to 35. You have somebody telling you what you need to do to succeed. That's totally wiped out once you actually graduate, and you have to go from a passive individual waiting for someone to motivate you or tell you what you need to do, for more of a proactive person and actively solve problems, actively learn more, actively be successful in the area that you are in. It's called a self-starter, but a lot of people don't even get to that point because they're still trapped in the mindset of, I'm going to wait until this person, my boss, my supervisor, whatever have you, to tell me what to do, as opposed to taking a proactive approach and going through the job and finding ways where you can bring more value to the organization within your position. As long as you observe, keep your mouth shut, and learn, you'll be able to see numerous opportunities. But if you go in thinking that you know everything, you're going to lose. And then last but not least, which is probably the most important shift that I'm going to talk about, is going from an external validation to internal validation. What do I mean? When you are in school, the internal validation that you get is when the professor says, hey, you got an A on this paper, great job. Once you get into the real world, if little to no people are going to give you recognition based off of the job that you have done. You know what your recognition will be is the paycheck that you'll get by weekly or on a monthly basis. That's going to be your overall validation to say good job. You do a good enough job to keep your job. And that's a culture shock for a lot of people, but that's the overall reality. And this is some things that once you join a company, they're not going to tell you, because they don't have time to tell you, because their job is to make sure that they're moving things in the right direction. Okay. So I gave you a 50,000 overview of the 3 mindset pillars. So now what I'm going to do is give you specific things that you can do from each mindset shift. I'm just going to give you one from the 3 pillars just to get you started. And these are very actionable and tangible things that you can do today. Don't get caught up in the fact of what I'm going to tell you. Just actually try it. And as you try these things, as you start out, you're going to suck. I sucked when I first started out trying to do this stuff, but you will get better. Once again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. So one strategy or one tangible thing that you can do right now to start the process of going from a student to a performer is you want to practice something called the 70-30 rule, right? That once again, that is the 70-30 rule. What is the 70-30 rule? So you want to spend 70% of your time executing, doing, getting stuff done, taking care of stuff, handling your business, however you would want to say it, as you are embarking in your new professional career. Get stuff done, right? And the other 30% will be learning. How are you continuously developing? How you're continuously executing the craft that you are in? I said this before. Once you graduate, a large portion of people who will graduate, they'll stop learning, right? Because they feel that they've learned everything that they need in order to be successful. And once again, what you learn in school, your diploma gives you access to the starting line of your professional career, not the finish line. So as you practice the 70-30 rule, once again, execute as you are working, or even if you are in the process of still finding a job. Your worth is in the work that you put in. But if you are lazy, if you are passive, if you feel the world owes you because you have a high GPA, once again, you're going to lose. And once again, I remember I was telling you guys that it took me a year and a half to find my first job. This is one of the main reasons why it took me so long, because I was so stuck on learning. The things were flipped. I spent 70% of my time in the process of trying to learn while I was in school, and not enough time trying to execute, to get stuff done. Because even though I went to school full time, I still had the weekends and I still had nights if I didn't work my part-time job. So the time that I had was readily available, but I really didn't take advantage of it during the time that I was in school. Don't get me wrong. You want to learn, right? But you gain so much more value in what you're learning if you're executing, right? So if you are or will be a recent college graduate, continue that overall momentum and spend 70% of your time executing in what you are doing. That's even before you actually land the job and after, and spend 30% of your time learning, developing. There's always always something new to learn in your industry. Be an individual that stays abreast of the new stuff that you learn, because you bring more value to yourself, and ultimately you can bring more value to an organization based off of the stuff that you have learned, right? So the next strategy when it comes to removing from a passive to a proactive mindset is build a personal development plan without waiting for HR. Let me give you the gist of the job of HR. The job of HR is to protect the company at all costs. Of course, HR tends to, the workers and provide them services, but HR's job is not to develop you. It's not. And also, why would you want to put your development in the hands of someone else? It's your career, so you should take the time out to develop your career. And for anybody that's on here and saying, well, I don't know how to do that, just ask yourself the question, where do I want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, right? You can use AI, you can use Google, you can do some research. Once again, perform this. Stop going from a student, perform this, start to execute this, and ask yourself where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Take what they say and actually start to incorporate that, right? And also, just don't build the plan, actually execute the plan. Building it is the easy part, right? And a lot of people get the misconception, oh, I just built it, so it's just automatically fold out the way that I want it to fold. That's not the case. Take some time to build it, but then also execute it. If you want to be successful, Google what are the things that you need to do And also, what are the things that you need to learn in the particular industry that you are in to be successful? And then start to take time out of your schedule. Once again, that 30%, take time out to learn and figure out ways that you can actually build that plan, right? Give you another side note. One of the best ways to build your personal development plan is to conduct something called informational interviews, right? And actually, I have um, a PDF of a step-by-step process on how to create informational interviews. But at a high level, an informational interview is just what it's like. You would go in and talk to a professional, and you would interview them on their overall experience, um, what they've learned throughout the time that they've been in the industry, what are some of the best moments, what are some of the hardest moments, kind of get a gist of what they how they got to where they are in their career. That's probably one of the fastest ways that you can build relationships with professionals. Do informational interviews. But let me also say this also. When you do your informational interviews, do not try to get a job at the organization of the person that you are interviewing. Now, if they open up that box and ask you where you're working and things of that nature, feel free to answer those questions, but you strictly go into an informational interview to obtain information based off of a seasoned professional, right? So that's probably one of the fastest ways that you can build your network. And if you combine the two, if you go to your alumni association, which every university has, and you conduct these informational interviews, that is a great 1-2 punch where you can build your network within the alumni association. And your network is very important. In my instance, your network and the relationship that you will build will have more value than your actual degree. Now, you can fight me on this. You can say that this is not the case, but I firmly believe the people that you meet and the relationships that you establish, these people can probably open up doors faster than what your degree can do. Your degree will help, right? It'll get you to the starting line. Once again, I keep saying that, but it may not be the thing that helps you navigate throughout your overall career. But the people that you have in your circle and that you get value from, and in some way, shape, or form, you add value to, those will be the things that will help you in your career. And then last but not least, how to move from external validation to internal validation, which is this is key because everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to, I don't care who you are, wants to have a pat on their back, a good job. And once again, you deserve that, but you may not get that in your professional realm. Once again, most companies think how I can congratulate you. Look at your bank account on the 1st and the 15th, or the 15th and the 30th, or whatever your pay scale is. That's how I can congratulate you. A job well done. Here's the salary. Here's what you've earned through these last 2 weeks. Go pay your bills, do whatever you need to do. That should be your validation. That's how a lot of companies think. But a key person in my life when it comes to the area of professional development and some of the things that I did to expand my career, his name was Jim Rohn, right? I'm pretty sure there's some people on here that know who Jim Rohn is, but for people who do not know who Jim Rohn is, he passed away. He was a huge personal and professional development guru, but he took the simplest sayings and resonated so much that it totally made sense, right? If you're trying to make a point or try to inspire or motivate, or whatever have you, you don't necessarily have to be complex with it. Some of the most simple things can have the biggest impact, right? And one of the things that resonated with me the most was he said, stand guard at the door of your mind. Let me say that again. Stand guard at the door of your mind. So, especially in this day and age, you need to be very careful of the information or the people around you and the information that they are giving you, right? Because what you read, what you listen to, what people say to you is planting seeds in your mind, even from a subconscious standpoint. So for me, when I first started out in my career, I took advice from everyone who had a little bit more experience from me, as opposed to being very selective on listening to some of the things that people tell me for a numerous amounts of reasons, because some of the stuff that they told me, it was poison in a sense. Some of the stuff resonated and helped me. A lot of it, I left it on the cutting room floor. So what be saying that the third, the third strategy in the realm of seeking internal and external and internal validation is limit the feedback that you receive from people. Be very careful, and you need to vet these people out. Be very careful on who you ask for feedback, right? Once again, Jim Rohn made the great analogy that, make sure you watch your coffee in a sense, because he brought up the scenario. Okay, what if, because strychnine and sugar, it's both white, it's both powdery. So if you put them both together, you wouldn't know which is which, right? So what will happen if someone puts sugar in your coffee? Nothing, right? But what happens if someone will put strychnine in your coffee? You'll probably be dead, right? But what happens if the person that is giving you the advice doesn't know what they're giving, and they actually put the strychnine in there as opposed to the sugar, and they didn't even know that they did it by accident? You're still going to end up dead or in the hospital, thus being hurt. So make sure that you stand guard at the door of your mind and be very peculiar and limit the feedback and the people that give you certain feedback, because it can be designed to help you, or worse off, it can be designed to harm you, right? So I know I went on for about almost 30 minutes, right? So I'm going to close out. But once again, at a very high level, if you are a recent college graduate, I know you are excited. I know you should definitely celebrate the time that you have put in your academic career. But take note, you must know that you have to understand that you need to incorporate these 3 mind shifts as quickly as possible. And once again, I'll go over the 3. The first one is you need to go from the student mindset to the performer mindset. The second mindset is you want to go from being passive to a proactive professional. And then last but not least, you want to go from seeking or receiving external validation and start to build up your own internal validation, so you can still operate and move like a well-oiled machine internally, as opposed to waiting for someone to give you kudos that may never come, right? So hopefully, well, first and foremost, thank you guys for spending this time with me. If you had any questions, comments, concerns based off of this live stream, because I'm going to keep this up on LinkedIn, feel free to comment and we can continue the conversation over there. But once again, knowing you are about to graduate in the next couple of months, take note of how your current mindset is. No harm, no foul, because you're going to have to understand, you got to know where you currently are from your mind perspective, but you also have to know that you're going to have to take time to reshape your mind, reshape your overall beliefs, so you can transition from college graduate to professional and be very successful. This mindset is the first drop in the bucket for you having a very challenging career to continuing to thrive as you should be able to thrive. Because I'm doing this for recent college graduates, because I want you guys to be successful even after graduation. But you have to understand that it takes a shift from a mental perspective in order for you to continue that overall success. Excuse me. So once again, my name is Eric Horn. Thank you guys for your time, effort, and energy, and I will see you on the next live stream.